In a world before the internet, and where people made videos about things they made in their garage, there were cars. Cars were cool. And you had lots of spare time, so you made your car look cool. And when you made your car look cool, you joined a club. Car clubs were huge in the 50s and 60s, and even in my hometown, cars were huge. So, my dad always wanted to be in a local car club called the Dragon Coolies. Well, that car club has came and went, but they all had these really cool signs. They haven't made these signs for over 50 years, and my dad's always wanted one. Luckily, we were able to find one copy that we were able to get some real high-res photos and put next to a measuring stick. With that, I did what any good son would do. I went to Fusion 360 and I started modeling it in 3D. This really wasn't that difficult, but one of the difficult things of making something that I could make absolutely perfect look authentic was making it imperfect. So where there was a straight line, I made sure the line wasn't straight. I tried to follow the image as best I could, and that led to something looking old while still being new. You can see there in that casting, the N on the Monmouth isn't 100% straight, etc. So it was important to spend a lot of time modeling it the right way. The other thing you need to remember when you take a picture of something like that, you're going to have skew just from the lens of the camera. So you got to make sure you correct that as best you can. After I had that all done, I went ahead and 3D printed it. Now that right there is 16 hours of 3D print. I have not made any upgrades to my Prusa MKS3, so it still takes quite a while, and I wanted to do some really nice resolution to make sure it came out good. Yep, if you're just watching that, well, wait a minute, wasn't the other one gray? Well, I made lots of these. I was just going to make one. I ended up making like 12. Maybe it wasn't 12. The first one had some issues. I needed to make some minor corrections, so just did some sanding. And then I started with a base coat of red. And this is where everything kind of went sideways. If you're wondering why I'm pouring salt, this is a method I've used in the past. Actually, I have it on another video that's upcoming as masking, and it actually works pretty well. This time it didn't. Sometimes things go wrong. So I'd put a red base coat on here, and I was trying to get this done before we left, and I didn't wait long enough between coats, and because I didn't wait long enough between coats while the red was kind of dry, it was still green. The salt reacted with the red underneath. Obviously the salt reacted with the paint on top, which is normal, but it ended up creating like I don't even know. I couldn't get it off. The paint's still wet. It was green. Everywhere the salt touched the green paint, this goes to make sure you use the proper time, let things dry, don't try and rush it. I'll probably be able to save the print, but I'm gonna have to bead blast it something. But right now I have to walk away and come back to it later. Yeah, I didn't leave it alone. I kept picking at it. I decided I didn't want to get all that junk in my bead blaster. So I decided that this one was just gonna look really old. I used this, I weathered it, made it look old, and inadvertently, a little wet paint and some sand makes a really cool rusty or weathered texture. So it was kind of a big disaster, which I wasn't real happy about, but I've developed or stumbled across kind of a new technique for older looking signs and metal, etc. So that's fun, but I still had to make one that looked respectable for my dad. So another 16 hours, another several coats of red paint with the proper dry time this time, and then we're right back where we were. This time, instead of using the salt, because I was just a little scared, I had found some pretty good silver paint markers. So instead of trying to spray paint it and use the salt, I just did it by hand. First, I used a little sign paint, some one-shot sign paint. It's really good for UV protection. And then I went over it with, this is a silver paint marker I got, I think, at Micheals. I also ended up with a chrome from, I believe, Molly or Maltov or something. Really good chrome, especially over that black. Now my dad wants to put this in his car. I did print it out of PETG, so it should be good for heat resistance. Hopefully it won't warp. I have warned him, but at least the paint and stuff won't have any issues if it gets wet or something. Yeah, you're like, what is that? Well, that's a metallic cherry red I thought would look kind of cool. And what is that? Well, then we decided to make them for all of my dad's friends that he goes on car trips with and try to match all their cars. I think in the end I made like 10 or 12, as I said earlier. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. We'll see you next time.